Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the show. John Henry Soto here with you as always. It is 7 a.m. here in Nashville, Tennessee, June 24th, 2026. And hope you're all doing well. We're in midweek. Is this midweek? Yeah, I guess it is midweek. And I don't know what else to say other than it's midweek. And I want to talk about building a live stream show from scratch, which is something that I've done. And I talk about it sometimes. I actually get invited to some classes sometimes to talk about this. Being an expert, not not that difficult if you've done a thing a couple of times. I've done it hundreds of times, so it makes me a bit of an expert on some of these subjects, and I love to help people. So because of that, this part of my journey, when someone asks me, well, what kind of mic do you use? Why do you use this is called a voice popper? What software do you use to go live? Where do you go live on? How do you get your guests? What kind of questions do you ask? All these things are part of stuff that I've done. And this is why I love to help. So if you have any questions like that, as I go through this episode here, please just let me know. Drop them in the comments. Send me an email at johnhenrysoto@gmail.com. Don't forget to subscribe and follow and share this with friends. And also don't forget that on Sunday night, we have the Wellness Talk podcast with George Batista. You can watch that Sunday night at 7 p.m. Central. And that's always a lot of fun. Okay, so let's get started here. Building a live stream show from scratch. Building a live stream show from scratch has been one of the most rewarding and educational experiences of my career. When I first started, I quickly realized that hosting a successful live stream is about much more than just turning on a camera and going live. It requires planning, preparation, consistency, and a genuine desire to provide value to an audience. Over time, my live stream show has become a platform where I can interview artists, filmmakers, entrepreneurs, authors, and industry professionals while creating meaningful conversations that educate, inspire, and entertain viewers. That's part of when I first started, it was because I had been doing a podcast before the pandemic, right? And I was just doing it whenever I had time. It wasn't like a consistent thing. And obviously then the world shut down and I thought, hey, you know what? We're all home. Why don't I just call people that I know? I know people in the industry, musicians, and just from being in that world, let me just call them up and just start asking if they wanted to be on. And honestly, some of them said no. They were in their own world because the world was shutting down and things were pretty scary to a lot of them. And they turned me down, which was totally fine. But a lot of them were like, yeah, let's do it. And so I was able to do a lot of interviews there. And then I got more comfortable doing it. I started doing a morning show, kind of like this one. It's called 7 a.m. And I did about 130 something episodes of that, which is one every day. So it's not like years of doing those episodes, right? Because if you think about 130, 90 days, it's 3 months. Add another 30, we have 4 months, so maybe about 4.5 months. I was doing the show every day, and it was a lot of fun. And then we moved here, and then I started here, and then George and I got started doing our show, and we did a couple of different variations of that show. When you start out, sometimes you don't know exactly what you want to talk about. And you talk about what people say, right? And that's always the best advice I can give you is if you know about cooking fried chicken really, really well, then your show should be cooking fried chicken. And that's what you're going to talk about. And then as time progresses, you may have a chef on, and then you'll talk about steak. And then maybe you'll talk about something else having to do with cooking. And maybe you'll talk about silverware. You'll talk about pans and pots and different types of things, tools that you use in the kitchen to cook. You'll talk about different popular cooking shows, and then the show will have it will will start evolving into what you are actually comfortable with, and you're learning about some things as well as you go along. So you start implementing all the things that you're learning within the new format, and you continue to produce and you continue to learn. And it's an amazing thing what happens. The hardest part really is that you have to really stick to it. It's the obvious things, right? People say consistency. It's the 100% true. When you're doing this, you have to be consistent. One of the biggest lessons I've learned is that consistency is more important than perfection. If you look at some of my early shows, which I don't recommend, unless you really want to get an education on what not to do. The early shows, I had these big headphones and I had a little laptop that I was using, so the image was really really bad. I had no lighting. I think I had one lamp, and I had these big headphones and stuff. And then I wore a baseball cap. I don't know why I did that. Baseball cap with big headphones, and that was my setup. My setup was basically was basically like that, and it looked really bad. Matter of fact, I have a photo somewhere that I haven't been able to find for some reason. I had it on my page here, but it was a photo of when I first started and till a later variation of the show, a later the later shows, and you could just see the difference of how the improvement is. You just but you start, and I stayed consistent even with that, with that setup. Well, in the beginning, it's easy to focus on having the perfect equipment, graphics, or production setup. While those things can certainly help, audiences ultimately drawn to authenticity and valuable content. Some of my most memorable interviews and discussions came from simply showing up, being prepared, and having a genuine interest in the guest's story. I'm going to talk a little bit about that. The more episodes I produced, the more comfortable I became as a host and interviewer. So, you know, we talk to a lot of different artists. We talk to a lot of different people, musicians, filmmakers, wellness people, and doctors and authors and things. And sometimes these guests are not they're great guests because they have all the knowledge, they have all the the tools to do their job, right, and to do their job well. And they've written books, some of them, but they're not entertainers. They're not on the most energetic on on camera. And this is when you have to then you got to turn it up. Not only that, but you have to be prepared with good questions. You have to have good questions. And at the end here, I'm going to go over 10 things that you definitely need to start before starting a podcast, things that you definitely need, because the most important thing is really if you get a lull and somebody, you ask somebody, so did you always really enjoy, um, medicine? Yeah, I did. Great. Well, let me see. Let me ask you. You got to have another follow-up question, because sometimes they may not have a lot of stuff. And I've interviewed performers, I've interviewed actors that say, "So did you always know you wanted to be in front of the camera?" Yeah, I did. No story. Dead air, dead silence, and you feel your heart go, "Uh-oh, I better get a question up quick, and I better get all my questions because I might be going through all of them today." And so make sure you're prepared. Make sure that you do talk to the guests beforehand, just so you can kind of feel their tone and their flows and kind of, and then maybe what I do also is I always ask them, what would you like me to ask you that maybe people don't ask you enough of? They always love that question. And then I also ask them, um, what, what, oh, Well, what are you promoting now? What are you working on? So I know to bring it up at the end to talk about that. Those two things is something that I always ask the guests, just so they could have an idea that this is going to be value to them. They're going to be able to use these clips. They're going to be able to chop it up and use it for their social medias. It's going to be valuable to them, and they're going to talk about something that they want to talk about. And that always helps also with the excitement. So if you have a guest that's not necessarily, hello, my darling, hello, my baby, hello, my ragtime gal, they don't have that in them naturally. Well, then this can actually make them excited because now they know they're going to talk about something that they love. You're going to ask them a question about their new project. That's going to be exciting to them, and they're going to love that conversation. So it's very important. And this is, by the way, I don't mean this just by doctors and lawyers and people in business that we talk to that maybe not have the most excitement. I don't mean that. I'm talking about anybody, artists, filmmakers, actors. Sometimes actors are not that exciting. I mean, have you seen, if you go, look at interviews with somebody like, Robert De Niro, right? One of my favorite actors, right? Fantastic. But if you go to an interview with him, he's not exactly, he's like, yeah, 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 pretty much, yeah. He's not Mr. telling great stories. Like if you have like a Martin Short on the panel, who's hilarious and who's never going to be silent. He's always going to have something to say. So these are the a couple of things that I wanted to go over if you're considering starting a live stream or a podcast. By the way, you can do both. I do live in the mornings. We record the Sunday night show. Both of them are, you got to be the same. You're still recording. You still got to, live can be a little bit, nerve wracking because if you make a mistake, so what? It's live. Everybody knows you're live. So you just tell people, hey, we're live. Sorry. Camera goes out. Sorry. Hey, the mic goes out. Sorry. It's live. These things happen, right? So you get a little bit more comfortable while the more you do it. But recording it, it's also good too, right? But you have to still keep that same intensity and same professionalism, obviously, right? Another lesson I've learned is the importance of relationships. Every live stream creates an opportunity to connect with people from different industries and backgrounds. Through my interviews, I've gained valuable insight into music, filmmaking, business, marketing, leadership, and personal development. Many guests have become friends, collaborators, and trusted members of my professional network. In many cases, the relationships built through the show have been just as valuable as the content itself. This is so true. Man, I've met some incredible people. I'll say Oba Babatunde, who's an award-winning actor, an amazing actor. Um, just is one of the nicest men. He's been on our show more than anyone. He's been on our show maybe three, maybe four times. He came on one of our anniversary shows just to say happy anniversary. We were doing like a live thing. Steve Smith, the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame drummer from Journey, has been on a couple of times. Great guy. Kenny Aronoff, legendary drummer, session drummer, also the drummer for John Mellencamp, and has played with Paul McCartney. Has played on, just he's sold so many records, like $1 million records. I mean, he's been on records that have had like over 300 million sold. John Robinson, who played on Michael Jackson's Off the Wall, and he's the go-to guy for Quincy on drumming, and he's just an incredible drummer and very, very prolific. Has done a lot of work. Maybe I think he might be the most recorded drummer in history. I've seen that statistic with him. I don't know if it's been verified by like the Guinness Book of World Records or something like that, but he definitely is an incredible. And they've become friends, and they're just really great people, and it's just changed the game. When you meet the Lee Haney, an incredible, he was a world, he was a bodybuilder. He was Mr. Olympia for 8 times in a row, breaking Arnold Schwarzenegger's record back in the day of 6. He broke it with 7, and then he topped it with 8. And just an incredible achievement, and a very spiritual and very connected guy. And he's just a great guy. So we're sending out his prayers. He was a little sick. He's doing well. We're just sending out prayers to Lee Haney. lately. I know he was a little bit sick. I'll follow up and give you an update on how he's doing, but just sending our prayers to him and his family. We've had so many just amazing guests that they do it. Just it becomes, and then you learn so much about the industry, things that you had no idea about, things you just had. You're like, oh, really? I was like, man, I didn't know that. I didn't know that that's how that worked in the system. I didn't know behind the curtain this went on behind the curtain. I didn't know these stories were being told and being this is the way it was being followed. Very fascinating stuff. Perhaps the greatest benefit of producing a live stream show is that it creates opportunities not only for me, but also for my guests and audience. Every episode becomes a chance to share knowledge, promote creative projects, spotlight talented individuals, and help others learn from the experiences of successful professionals. Looking back, I've realized that the show is more than a broadcast, it's a community building tool that continues to open doors, strengthen relationships, and create opportunities that might never have existed otherwise. So this is, I do my interview show, but I also do this show here where right now I'm doing 20 episodes of the journey for JHS talent management, where I talk about my podcast, I talk about artists, and I talk about making what else did I talk? I have all my episodes are right here. So I can remember the shows I've done so far, just to give you an idea of what these 20 episodes are going to be. This is episode 13 that we're on right now. Building JHS talent management. What independent artists get wrong about their careers. The growth of Isis Christopher, who's one of my artists that I've signed. Why networking still matters. Creating opportunities instead of waiting for them. Behind the scenes of organizing a writer's round, and so on. And I give all the information of having done it. And in these 20 episodes, I'm going to put these together in a little playlist for the channels, and then anybody can just go on there and get this information for themselves and build it for themselves, build their own companies. Just go down the line and just start building and using these tools. Today we're on building a live stream show from scratch, number 13. All right. So some of the basics, we're going to go over the top 10 things that you need to have a successful uh, live stream podcast. I keep saying live stream. It's only because I'm live now, but it's just a podcast, right? So camera, I have a camera. I got my mic, right? These are two basic things. In today's technological world, you don't need a lot of technology and a lot of money. This microphone right here, I paid about 185 or 189 years ago. I'm talking about 5 or 6 years ago. I still use it. It still works. It's fine. It is a workhorse. It is the Samson G-Force microphone. You can get it now, right now on Amazon for under $100. It's about I saw it. The cheapest I saw it was $79 somewhere on Amazon. So you might be able to get this even cheaper than that. And you can get even a better one if you have a little bit of cash and you want to get a better one. I would recommend get a good microphone. Camera, I have a regular web camera, a 4K web camera. Make sure that it's a good quality web camera. Make sure that you have a computer that can handle the live stream. Pretty much any desktop computer that you purchase today can do it. Any laptop that you purchase today can do it. If it's very, very old, you might want to test it out. Those are just some technical things that I want to give you before we start. I actually broadcast on a platform called Livestream. So go to livestream.com. We pay monthly for the service. There's different tiers. You can get a bigger tier that has I think more people on the screen you can have, and some other features that I don't know. We don't need that, so we have a lower one, George and I, and we pay for it together on the to do his show, and then I do my show on this, and he does his own personal shows on this as well sometimes. So let's go down the list here. That was just a little bonus stuff that I wanted to give you on just the technical stuff, right? So those three things: live stream, good camera, good microphone. You're ready to go. Number one, the 10 things to know to have I'll do that again. The 10 things you need to know and have before starting a live stream or a podcast or recorded podcast show. Number one, a clear purpose. I can't tell you how important this is. That's why it's number one. You got to know what you're going to talk about. You can't just go live and just start talking about stuff because you're a good talker in with friends and you think, I should do a podcast. Let me just turn the camera on. It's okay to turn the camera on if you're on a social media platform and you just want to talk and you want to rant about something or you want to talk about something, whatever the case may be, that's fine. If you're doing this, you got to have a little bit of a clear purpose. Know why you're creating the show and who you want to serve. Number two, a consistent schedule. If you say your podcast is every Thursday at 9 p.m., every Thursday at 9 p.m., you cancel everything and you're there and be consistent. And by consistent, I don't mean do a month and do 4 shows in a month, do 8 shows in 2 months. No, I mean do a year consistent. Obviously things happen. You may have to move it. You may have to record it. It's another wonderful thing. If you're recording it, record it when you can during that week and then just schedule it to come out live when it comes out. So you don't have to do it. If you're doing a live stream and you have a live guest, well, you got to be there live, right? That's just the way it is. But consistent schedule. Audiences grow when they know when to expect a new episode. Number three, reliable internet. Yes, you need to get a good internet service. Some of them provide, they'll give you more. You have to pay more money to get a better speed and all that stuff. That's going to be going away at some point. Eventually, we're all going to have great speed and it's just going to be one service because because they're selling you things that need speed to operate them. So they want you to operate them. So the cost will go down of the service because the companies that are making this technology that needs faster internet will then pay the internet company services. They say, hey, we need these services, so why don't you lower the prices and we'll subsidize some of the services so they can run our software. This is what I think is happening on the inside. I don't know. Number four, good audio equipment. I think I mentioned that. A good microphone, good speakers. If you want to listen to your guests, you want to make sure you can hear them clearly. Number five, basic lighting. I have two lights here. I have a regular ring light, which everybody's seen. You can get a ring light for $19 on Amazon. And then this is just a regular lamp that I have here. You can get two ring lights. My suggestion is to get two ring lights. I have two ring lights. I have one in storage that I'm going to pull out and I'm going to put over here. But right now I have this light here that works just fine. It's all good. Put them in front of you. And there's the lighting that I have for my show, right? Number six, a guest booking strategy. You have to know if you're going to get guests. You can also do what I'm doing right now, which is a solo show, have a purpose, know what you're going to talk about, provide value, right? But if you're going to have a guest, you have to have a strategy in place. Okay, what kind of guests am I going to have? How am I going to get my guests? What am I going to send them? I need to send them a nice breakdown of like, the show is called this. This is our format. This is when we're going to record. This is when I'm available. This is the topics that we cover. Whatever it's going to be on this one sheet of paper that you have to send. You have to have a strategy, and then you have to go out and start calling people or start messaging people on social media. If you know them, if you know me, call me. I'll be on your show. If I can make it. Just get out there and start calling people. They don't necessarily have to be huge celebrities, right? I'm not a huge celebrity, just call me, right? But they can be people that people that are like, hey, this guy, I know he's a singer in a band. I'd like to know, but this guy was a singer. This guy was a guitar player, or this guy runs a big real estate office. I've had real estate people on my show because I was a real estate agent back in New Jersey. And so I have some real estate people. I've interviewed my broker. I've interviewed agents. I've interviewed people that have interesting stories to tell and are in business. So remember, your guests could be anybody that can provide value in the thing that they're doing. Okay. So think about that. Put a strategy together. Use ChatGPT to give you some suggestions and some ideas of how you can navigate through it and how you can get guests. Number seven, research and preparation. Make sure that once you get your guests, you have them send you a bio if they want a bio for you to read. Make sure that you know what your guest does for a living, so you don't sit there and go and, so what do you do again? You want to make sure that learn about your guests before the interview so you can ask meaningful questions, right? Um, Number 8, promote a promotion plan. How are you going to promote this? Are you going to promote it with the videos and you're going to be like, hey, everybody, come to my show. It's going to be on this today. You're going to do little video clips. You can do that. You can create a flyer, an online flyer, and you can pass it around. You can email it to people. You can do social media marketing. You can do a lot of different types of marketing, but have a plan of this is how you're going to market every single episode. Number 9, recording and repurposing content. So after you record and the show is done, you're going to take those clips and you're going to repurpose it. You're going to use them for smaller clips. You're going to actually, there's a lot of software now that you can use to chop it down and to put it out there and to schedule it for you and share it. It just continues to do that on its own. It's pretty cool. The technology that we have under our belts today, it makes it so easy that you just literally put the video in, say, I want this to be chopped up in this many minutes and I want it to be posted on these platforms, hit send and go, and it does it for you. And you can sit back and get ready for your next show. So you got to research those different platforms and which ones are going to work for you. Some of them do have a payment, so you got to pay a little bit. So you got to think about that as well. And number 10, patience and persistence. I could tell you about patience and persistence because you have to be very patient. Sometimes I'll do the show even today, now, and I'll have people come in, come go. I'll have some people watching. The numbers are always better as the days goes on. But sometimes people are not, the subject maybe not interesting. Maybe, right now I'm talking about making a live stream. Man, they don't care about that, man. So now they're not gonna watch it, But maybe you're the one that cares about because you want a live stream. You want to have an actual live stream or you want to have a podcast and you want this data. So it depends on who your audience is, right? Some shows are going to be great. Some shows are not going to be a lot of, but you got to be patient and you got to be persistent. You got to keep pushing. You got to keep researching, keep trying to figure out your voice and how you're going to communicate and, be comfortable. It's really hard at the beginning because at the beginning you're like, hi, everybody, welcome to the show. My name is John and we're going to be talking about, and you get a little bit more like robotic. Once you get comfortable and you're like, all right, I'm just going to talk and I'm just going to say things and hopefully they'll come out right. And if they don't come out right, I'll try to say them again. And that's the key element. So, final thought. I hope this was helpful to anyone out there that's wants to start a podcast. Again, if you have any questions on this and you're confused about something that I said, just send me a message, johnhenrysoto@gmail.com. Put on a question from your podcast or, so that I know where you're coming from. Put that in the title so I know, and I will answer your questions. Final thought here. A successful live stream show isn't built on a single episode. It's built one conversation, one guest, one lesson, and one audience member at a time. If you stay consistent, continue learning, and focus on providing value, your live stream can become a powerful platform for education, networking, community building, and creating opportunities for yourself and for others. All right. Well, there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Hope this was very helpful to you building a podcast or live stream show from scratch. Tomorrow's episode, it's going to be sort of related to today's episode in a way, how to be a better interviewer. So we're going to go over that and what kind of questions to ask and little things that I've learned on interviewing people that are very interesting. We're going to go over that tomorrow morning, 7 a.m. Central. I hope you can join us here. Thank you very much for tuning in. I appreciate you all. God bless you all. Take care of yourselves and take care of each other. And as always, peace.